that Kevin Stefanski was trying to save him from himself. Whether you agree or disagree, I think that he's in a position where he can make that argument legitimately, and it would be very difficult to argue with him based on what we saw.
Like that was a big deal. Like that was somewhat of a surprise to a lot of people. Head coach Kevin Stefanski did not want Shedeur Sanders. The GM Andrew Berry clearly did not want Shedeur Sanders.
We know what the collusion looked like. We got people talking about the NFL got together with this collusion and calling these.
Kevin Stefanski is absolutely furious after Shedeur Sanders officially walks out on the Browns in stunning fashion. What started as a heated confrontation has now exploded into a full-blown franchise crisis, leaving Cleveland in shock. This is a meltdown that threatens to tear the Browns apart.
Now we know Shedeur Sanders is a very exceptional, excellent quarterback.
Shedeur Sanders has officially parted ways with the Cleveland Browns after a heated confrontation with head coach Kevin Stefanski, and the way it went down left the entire organization in shock. This wasn't a trade. This was a quarterback standing up in the middle of a team meeting, declaring he was done, and walking out while his stunned teammates watched in silence.
Nothing in sports has ever angered me more than what the NFL has done to Shedeur Sanders.
It all unraveled during the morning offensive installation. The focus was on third down packages against the scout defense, the kind of detail work every team goes through week after week. Stefanski zeroed in on Sanders' execution, questioning his decisions in front of the room. What started as coaching corrections quickly escalated.
Today was all about Shedeur.
Sanders stood up and threw down a sentence nobody expected. "I'm done with this." No hesitation, no second thoughts. Just a rookie quarterback making it clear he was finished. From there, he didn't look back. Coaches tried to step in, tried to cool the situation, but Sanders never stopped walking. He didn't acknowledge a single word, didn't turn his head. He went straight out the doors, into the parking lot, got in his car, and drove away.
What Kevin Stefanski said yesterday after the final preseason game when the Cleveland Browns took on the Los Angeles Rams says some very interesting things about Shedeur.
Inside the building, the silence was deafening, and that's when the focus shifted to Kevin Stefanski, because while Sanders' walkout was dramatic, the coach's reaction made it clear just how deep this fracture runs. At the podium later, Stefanski tried to play it professional. "We've done everything to support him. At some point, you have to put the team first. That's non-negotiable."
I want to document how people change their opinions, Dan or Schlofsky.
It sounded controlled, almost calm, but according to those inside the building, that wasn't the real Stefanski. Behind closed doors, assistants described an explosion they'd never witnessed before. One coach with 2 decades of NFL experience put it bluntly, "I've never seen Kevin like that." And the spark that lit it all was simple, a question about execution on a third down package. That's all it took for the situation to detonate. Stefanski pressing harder, Sanders feeling targeted, and then the walkout that no one in that room will ever forget.
Because you have to give this man an opportunity. You have to give Shedeur Sanders an opportunity.
This wasn't frustration after a bad game. This wasn't an emotional sideline argument. This was official. Shedeur Sanders walking away from the Browns organization, teammates watching in disbelief, coaches scrambling to hold it together, and a head coach seething with rage both privately and publicly. The Browns didn't just lose their quarterback that morning. They lost control of their locker room, their unity, and maybe their season.
I'm not even saying this came from the league office. I'm saying this was the good old boy network to a large extent around the NFL. This is coaches, this is GMs, scouts, front office people.
The truth is, this explosion between Shedeur Sanders and Kevin Stefanski didn't just come out of nowhere. No, this thing had been simmering for weeks, building up like a slow-cooking disaster waiting for the lid to fly off. If you trace it back, the cracks started showing right after the Browns' embarrassing loss to the Rams.
When you talk about 11 dropbacks, 5 sacks, just 3 completions, 4 3-and-outs in 5 series, 1 fumble recovered by a teammate, those were the numbers, but some of the things that they talked about in terms of him being in college, guys, you know this better than me, both you and Ryan, and I defer to y'all, obviously.
Now, let's be clear. Sanders actually played well in that game. 70% completion rate, 3 touchdowns, numbers that should have earned at least a nod of respect, but not in Cleveland, not with Kevin Stefanski holding the remote in the film room. Instead of praising his rookie quarterback, Stefanski hit rewind on every single incompletion, every single missed adjustment, every audible people he didn't like. Over and over, he hammered on the negatives until the positives basically vanished. To the players in that room, it didn't look like coaching anymore. It looked personal.
Jimmy Haslam and none other than Browns general manager Andrew Berry made their way to the Ohio State versus Texas game, and pretty much a lot of people is insinuating that they went there to go see who? Arch Manning.
I said in my video, I at least hoped the Browns would have the decency to put Shedeur on their practice squad.
One offensive player even said it straight up. Coach basically blamed Shedeur for everything while protecting everybody else. That's not nitpicking, that's scapegoating. And once players start whispering about favoritism, trust erodes fast.
Spread like evil wildfire around the NFL.
Then came practice. If you thought Sanders was going to get the royal treatment as the supposed franchise quarterback, think again. Stefanski had him splitting first-team reps with backups, sometimes even giving journeyman veterans more snaps than the rookie the entire organization had invested in. To Sanders, it felt like sabotage. You're drafted to be the face of the franchise. Ownership is hyping you up. Fans are buying jerseys with your name on it. And your own coach is treating you like the last guy on the depth chart. That's gasoline on the fire.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. Do not underestimate how many head coaches out there in the NFL were scared to death of taking Shedeur because they were scared to death that either Dion would soon campaign for their job, or maybe the owner would start thinking, man, I could bring Dion in here.
Because Stefanski and Sanders weren't just disagreeing on play calls or mechanics. No, this was a full-blown culture clash. Stefanski is the old school type. Hierarchy matters, respect is earned, you grind quietly until the coach decides you're ready. It's the same formula he's trusted for years.
I think Shedeur Sanders is a top 5 pick next year.
Sanders, he's cut from a different cloth. He's brand aware, he's empowered, he's grown up in the era where young athletes don't wait for permission. They expect to make an impact from day one. He's not gonna sit quietly and nod while he's being undermined.
General managers not to pick Shedeur Sanders, to humble this kid, to make an example out of him.
So what happens when you stick an old school disciplinarian in the same room as a new school quarterback who refuses to play by outdated rules? You get fireworks, not the fun 4th of July kind, the kind that burned the whole building down. This wasn't just a coach and player who couldn't get along. This was a generational collision. Stefanski demanding authority, Sanders demanding respect, both of them doubling down instead of giving an inch. Neither one wrong in their own eyes, but completely incompatible when forced together, and once both sides dug in, there was no turning back.
I believe Haslam just saw Shedeur as a publicity stunt, anything to take some of the focus off the fact that the Browns have the worst odds to win the Super Bowl in the NFL.
Of course, the real victims of this drama weren't just Stefanski and Sanders. It was the locker room, the guys stuck in the middle watching their season unravel like a bad reality show. After Sanders walked out, Stefanski tried to assert control with an emergency team meeting. His message was blunt. Anyone who can't commit, walk out now. That was his attempt at drawing a line in the sand, making it crystal clear that the team comes before any individual.
This is about the misuse and the mistreatment that they're doing to Shedeur Sanders.
But here's the problem. Half the room didn't buy it. Receivers who had built chemistry with Sanders stood up and confronted Stefanski directly. They weren't about to let their quarterback get treated like a scapegoat without saying something. And here's the kicker. Once a locker room splits like that, it's nearly impossible to stitch it back together. You've got receivers texting Sanders after practice. You've got linemen whispering about Stefanski's play calling. You've got defensive vets just praying it doesn't get worse. That's not a recipe for football. That's a recipe for implosion.
This is what this is about, to bring awareness to how they are treating Shedeur Sanders.
So when people say Sanders' walkout was shocking, sure, in the moment it was. But if you've been paying attention, the writing was on the wall for weeks. From the film room blame games, to the practice reps drama, to the culture clash nobody could bridge. This was inevitable. The Browns weren't just preparing for Pittsburgh. They were preparing for a full-blown organizational meltdown.
Well, he deserves criticism to me for not allowing Shedeur Sanders to finish the game.
But here's where it gets even uglier. Stefanski's authority isn't just under attack from his quarterback, now it's being undermined by ownership itself. When the boss who writes the checks starts second-guessing your decisions in front of the whole organization, your seat isn't just hot, it's on fire, and everyone in the building can smell it. League executives are already calling it a cautionary tale of how not to handle a rookie quarterback. You don't take the most brand-driven prospect in the draft and treat him like a practice squad body, unless you want chaos. If you've come this far, make sure to subscribe to the channel to get more updates about Browns' quarterback battle.